Hello everyone, my name is Bostjan Makarovic and I've had almost 15 years experience in telecommunications law, so hopefully I will try to make this subject as exciting for you as possible. Now, welcome to the subject, an area of law that regulates telecommunications industry. What do we mean by telecommunications industry? Where we all use our smartphones, our tablets, our computers to communicate, but what is behind all this and how is it legally regulated, if at all? Well, by telecommunications industry, we mean traditional fixed copper line-based wired networks that have now been adapted for broadband internet we can use in our homes, or newly built optical fiber networks. We mean voice and internet services provided via these networks. We also mean mobile networks, mobile services, including roaming when we go abroad. Then we mean transmission networks, services used for broadcasting television signals, which can be cable, terrestrial, or satellite. But it is important to distinguish networks and conveyance of signals from content delivered by means of the same networks and services. So, television and radio content that are regulated separately from transmission networks, say cable TV services that are used to deliver them to end users, these are not telecommunications law issues. We are dealing with transmission. So similarly, we do not deal with internet content regulation. These areas are dealt with by broadcasting law and internet law respectively. So, telecommunications law as we know it today emerged from liberalization of a previously monopolized market. The telecommunications rules to protect the state-backed monopoly, of course, always existed, but it wasn't really an interesting area to study. What's really interesting was to find a way for several operators to be able to use the same telecoms networks, to terminate telephone traffic from one network to another network, and to enable fair access to radio frequencies. So, what are the main topics that we will cover? First, we will look at technology and economics of telecoms. Of course, not in details, but we need to understand it to study telecommunications law. We will look at how law seeks to introduce competition in a previously monopolistic market, and this will include licensing of new operators, the rules of interconnection of networks, unbundling previously monopolized parts of the state-owned networks, and also sharing of network parts. In addition, we will look into social aspects of telecommunications law, the rules that are there to ensure that everyone receives at least basic telecom service. That is the idea of universal service. And what are the challenges for such policies in the era of mobile and super-fast broadband internet access? We will also explore consumer protection and privacy. These are the rules that are specifically made for telecoms. We will look in more detail into European Union telecommunications law. We will explore EU institutions dealing with telecommunications, that would be dealing with policy, regulation, and that primarily would be European Commission as the key policy setting body and its interactions with the member states' regulatory authorities and their body, BEREC, body of European regulators for electronic communications. We will explore European system of linking telecommunications regulatory measures with the concepts of competition law, notably market analysis and market power, such as dominance. We will also look into issues such as frequency management, for example, in relation to mobile services, or privacy and data protection in relation to electronic communications. Our next topic will be telecommunications contracts. So on one hand, we have wholesale or business contracts. These include interconnection, local loop unbundling, essentially the agreements that are used to connect or access to networks. And then we have outsourcing of telecommunication services, where companies decide to outsource their telecommunications function to someone else. And then we have consumer contracts, how they are regulated, how can end users change their provider and keep their number, and what are the mandatory clauses in such agreements. Ultimately, we will look at international telecommunications law, both from the international organization's point of view and from comparative law perspective. We will look at the functioning and the role of the ITU, that is the International Telecommunications Union, one of the oldest international organizations established to enable international transmissions of signals in a standardized way in order for them to function, so indispensable for international communications. And then we have the WTO, the World Trade Organization, which is a much younger organization that included telecommunications on its liberalizing international trade agenda. So we are talking trade in services here. We will look at how both of these organizations have been influencing the development of the telecoms market. We will further explore various jurisdictions, the US, Asian countries, and look into issues faced by the developing nations who attempt to use telecommunications law and regulation as a tool of economic progress. We will touch on emerging international agendas such as the one of net neutrality, that is the neutrality and the openness of the internet. Telecommunications law might not be the easiest subjects to study, but you will learn loads of useful stuff. You will get a full overview how the law in a particular industry regulates competition, protects consumers and their privacy, and how complex business transactions involved in the latest technology are being dealt with by the lawyers. What you will learn will be useful if you intend to work in a law firm serving large corporate clients such as telecoms operators. It is indispensable for an in-house lawyer in a technology company, be it a startup or a large telco operator, and it's critical if you want to work in the public sector, either on policy making or regulatory side, in any way relating to information or communication technology. So I encourage you to take telecommunications law.